for about 25 minutes. I thought, hey, how serendipitous. We have transportation committee today. Just wanted to mention to y'all to see if you could, look into it, make sure things are on track. But otherwise, appreciate it. Really appreciate the work y'all do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That'll bring us to the end of our public comment. Still seeing no quorum. We will move forward with the Transportation Committee briefing, our quarterly briefing from Department of Aviation.
Okay. Good morning. Jan Lennon, Interim Airport General Manager. First of all, thank you so very much for giving us an opportunity to present our quarterly for the airport. And also thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to reschedule from January until today. We greatly appreciate that. Also want to thank my staff who is here today. They are also here in support and also for any granular questions that we may have at the end of the quarter. So ATL is celebrating 100 years this year. If you did not see, we had our canopy do the countdown of the 100, ATL. So we are so excited about this milestone for ATL. We'll be celebrating for 18 months. And this will be the display that you see at our airport at all times when we don't have a special holiday or some type of event going on for the next 18 months. As you well know, we are also preparing for our 125 million passengers in 5 years. How are we going to get there? We have so many events coming to Atlanta that is increasing our O&D. We've always been known for our connecting travelers. Now we will have our O&D traveler, the increase there. As you can see, we have AAAE Conference. We have FIFA World Cup. We're just so excited about, and we have been in preparation now for over 2 years. Let's talk about a few accomplishments for 2024. Yes, we hosted 108.1 million passengers in 2024. We are on the move and we are on the rise. The last time we exceeded this number was in 2019 before COVID, and that was 110. So as you can see, we're on track to beat that number in a couple of years and exceed it. We added 5 new airlines. Our airport vacancy rate dropped 30%. That is truly a big goal for us because, as you well know, as we're preparing for the capacity of the airport, we definitely need our personnel and our staff to help us meet these accomplishments. We signed 2 sister airport agreements, and the airport's capital program is in its 9th year. We continue to upgrade and expanding for our capacity as well. A few more accomplishments. Let's talk about weather. We have a series of exercises all throughout the year. One of the big one is Big Bird exercise, where it tests us about how we prepare for the weather. And so those the last one was in December, and as I stated, we had several throughout the year. It had us to be prepared for the 2 winter storms that we had in January 2025. We had to make sure that all de-icing and treatment materials were in stock. We had over 43 million square feet of taxiways and runways that had to be pre-treated. We had more than 100 operations and team members along our customer service and ATL that was there to support us. We did very well with the conditions that we have, and that was due to the preparation of the team and the partnerships at the airport. Infrastructure. You can't come to the airport without seeing the cranes and without seeing the construction. As I stated before, we must continue to grow and expand our airport as needed. All of the projects that you're seeing here, we're talking about our South Parking Deck. We're talking about the new Aviation Administration Center that will house the majority of the administrative staff at the Department of Aviation, and also allow that space for us to collect revenue. Our west side curb needs improvement as well because, as you well know, when you come to the airport, we do have congestion. We have curbside congestion and roadway congestion. So this will help alleviate some of that. If you look at our South Parking Deck phase, this parking deck will have 6,700 1,500 new spaces for our passengers and our employees. This is part of a decade-long parking improvement project that will allow us to offer easier access to our passengers as well. The exciting Concourse D, the concourse that has been talked about all over the world with the modular construction that we have in place, is revolutionary, and we are almost there. This is a $1.3 billion cost to this, but however, it's going to afford us so many enhancements within the airport. Sustainability has been definitely busy. We are leading in sustainability and innovation by incorporating solar panels. And as you well know, the Cherry Street Energy represents a dedication to our sustainability future. The solar panels, we've also had EVs charging stations, and more will be available across the airport as we expand. We currently have 7 additional active projects that will lead certified, including Concourse D and Aviation Administration. So as we move forward with projects, we're making sure that sustainability is incorporated in those projects. Every year, we have dozens of volunteers that help us to clean up the Flint River. Chairman Amos, you and members of the committee are more than welcome to ever join us anytime that you can. We host this every year. We've collected 273 pairs of shoes. And yes, the data points to correlate to the sneakers campaigns. When shoe waste decomposes in landfill, it generates greenhouse gases. So that is so important. So we're excited about that for our teams. Diversity, we are still tracking in diversity opportunities at the airport. Please note with this slide that the diversity participation approved sub-invoices increased by 74.5% over Q4 2022, from $745 million in December 2022 to $1.3 billion in December 2024. So that's really a hats off to let you know our dedication in the diversity arena and the opportunities for our small businesses. Operational metrics. You can see our quarter, we're still increasing there. Passenger traffic increased by 4% year over year with 27.1 million passengers in Q4, increasing our passenger count by nearly 2% over the previous quarter. Rideshare and taxi operations continue to grow as well. Here's an updated version of our year-to-year numbers and projections. We have confirmed our passenger figures. We saw that we have 108.1 million passengers last year, just about assuring our status as the world's busiest airport as we've been consecutively. 2024 also stands as the airport's second busiest year on record. As I stated, that was in 2019 when we had 110 passengers. Our cargo numbers have increased by 11%, and I want you to pay special attention to the number of firearms that our TSA agents have detected. We dropped to 440 firearms detected in 2024, and now down from 451 in 2023. So that says a lot to the team, a lot to our media, socializing, having people to not bring weapons to the checkpoint areas, and then also the great work that the TSA officers are doing in detecting them. Our law enforcement partners continue to implement robust plans to keep the airport safe. In 2024, we began enforcing the ordinance requiring that everyone who visits the airport has a purpose for being there. Managing this has helped us a great deal for us to have clear lines of segregation as we are trying to monitor the airport from a bird's eye view. In calendar year 2024, over 6.2 million cars parked in our lots overnight, and the theft rate was just less than, it was 0.0048%, or that equates to 303 vehicles. So they have been doing a great job trying to prevent, deter, or detect these car vehicles that we're having. Customer service experience. We talk about the customer service experience at all times because we want the customer service experience to be for passengers as well as for our employees. And this is something that we have been working on at all times. The busiest day that we've had was the Super Bowl. That was in 2019. We helped process some 101,000 passengers that day. But in 2024, ATL saw 45 days that exceeded over 100,000 mark, including the 4 days that you see in the fourth quarter. So we have been busy while maintaining a customer service experience. Passenger wait times, our goal is always 20 minutes. In quarter four, we accomplished this goal 95% of the time. On Sunday, October the 20th, we started wait time exceeding 2 hours, and that was because TSA had some challenges with their workforce. They had 16% of their workforce that called out. Along with our more customer service experience, we added new additional routes to Portland, Oregon, Austin, Texas, Wilmington, Delaware, and more. So we are increasing in this space to attract and retain our current air service at ATL. We also had 5 new airlines: Aeromexico, Sun Country Airlines, Avelo, Denver Air, and Canadian Airlines. So we are still, again, making sure that we are having offerings for all of our passengers or all of our guests all over the world. Our customer satisfaction is conducted over 300 airports. In 2024, ATL received an overall satisfaction score of 4.14 on a scale of 1 to 5. That 4.14 represented a slight increase over our score for 2023. We currently now have a customer service assistant general manager now that is in place, who is being laser focused on ensuring that we can increase our customer service passenger numbers, as well as maintaining those, and also introducing a great mitigation plan for us to stay current, viable in this space. Commercial, we have recently, from J.D. Power, recently recognized ATL's concessions for its diverse and extensive offerings. It is a testament to our commitment to meeting the needs of every traveler. ATL is in the midst of a substantial concessions refresh program. These new options will create a sense of place for visitors and allow for increased concessions revenue across the enterprise. And that is just a breakdown of the different categories that we have at the airport. This particular slide will actually show you the phases. Remember, we have phase 2, phase 3, and phase 3B. So we are working fast to get these stores open and get these offerings available to our customers and our employees. Parking rates. One of the things we did an assessment throughout the airport, things that we have found, we have rates, revenue that we have not, potential revenue that we have not changed or updated since 2017, despite the 30% increase in the consumer price index. Long-term parkers are using hourly decks, causing low availability, congestion in terminal roadways, and passenger frustration. We're getting so many people there, and when you look at the price marker, you can actually see why. But also, we need to help offset substantial construction costs to expand parking offerings, improve technology, and offer guidance systems and enhanced services. So increase costs to maintain our shuttle services as well. So we really had to look at this and determine what would be a good means to start phasing in an approach to increase our parking rates. What you will see there is the proposed parking rate for May 1st. We're still fleshing these things out. We're still working through it because we don't, and it has to make sense for the airport as well. And also, we want to make sure we are not putting a hard burden on our passengers too. Here you will see the gross commercial gross revenues that we had for calendar year for 2024. And again, these are great numbers, but also our expenses are growing as well. So even though we have revenue, our expenses are increasingly increasing. Finances, we are in a good space with our finances. Our revenue was lower. We were under budget by 4%, and our expenses there was 11% under budget. But those things balance out, but we're still in a financial strength here for our airport financially. But also we do, just want to make a clear point, we do have to watch our expenses, and we also have to watch and grow our revenue. ATL Superior Credit Rating. There is more than $1.1 billion that is equivalent to 979 days of cash on hand. Our strong GARP debt service coverage allows us to borrow money for construction projects at a good cost. And $6.78 CPE allows for us to attract new flights and new airlines. And we've been pretty much stagnant with that really well. So that's a very modest, very modest rate for our airlines. Technology, we hear about cybersecurity. We had to be aggressive with our systems and started to do things. So we are constantly monitoring and using tools to monitor our systems, doing exercises, testing our system, taking down our system for us to make sure if we ever have a crisis, we are prepared for it. We did not want to be in a place where we didn't even test our systems and something happens and then we just don't know what to do. So we have been shutting down our systems and testing them in phase and to see what things that we need, what mitigation strategies that we need to have in place so we can be in front of this before something happens. Also, some of the things that we're doing, we have biometrics that we are now incorporating into our space, digital totems. You will see that when you come through the airport, they let you know what is your wait time. I think that's been very beneficial for our passengers, and it also minimizes the anxiety and the stress for the passenger when they can determine when they are in line how long their wait time will be. And also, as I spoke about this before in the last quarter, that we have our IODAS, and that is improving our cell coverage throughout the entire airport. We have found that we had too many gaps at the airport, and it was frustrating our employees and our passengers, and as well as our emergency crisis group. Our organizational strength is really good. Like I said, we just wanted to focus on how we were able to decrease our numbers. I also want to thank you for, we had extra help, an extensive amount of extra help that we had to convert into permanent positions, and that was 74, I believe it was, and now they are now incorporated. Now we are taking control over that and making sure that the extra help is utilized as it is just for something temporary, and then we are maximizing the positions that we currently have to outfit the airport. We will continue to have community hiring events. Last hiring event that we had at Monroe High School in November, we had 29 companies. Job seekers was over 7,000, and we actually had a little over 2,000 that actually showed up at Monroe High School for employment opportunities. Looking ahead, as you can see, we still have so many community engagement events that we are having. ATL Centennial Celebration Press Conference, which I hope I see each of you there. That will be April in the atrium part of the airport. We also have our cybersecurity tabletop exercises, our inaugural Gateway to Growth graduation for the new businesses that were selected last month, the 25 businesses, and this is an inaugural program that will get an opportunity to go through our academy to learn the process of businesses, how do you apply for businesses and get RFPs here at the airport. This is a good opportunity for small businesses to get it directly from us, get an inside look as to what's happening, so they'll be better prepared when they are trying to complete RFPs for our airport. And then we will also have a team where we have selected small businesses that will get an opportunity to fill some of our spaces that we have designated, to get an opportunity to operate their business for a couple of years, and then you give that opportunity to someone else. So we're really excited about that. And finally, again, we have the signing of our legislation for our 100 year that happened in April 1925. And then the first commercial flight took place in September 1926. So that's why we have an 18-month long celebration we are truly excited about. And that's it for my quarterly report.
Thank you. As you catch your breath, what I would like to do is go ahead and officially call the meeting to order Wednesday, February 26, 2025. Of course, I am Chair of the Transportation Committee, joined to my far left, our Vice Chair, Councilwoman Overstreet. To my right, Councilmember Wan, Councilmember Dozier, and Councilmember Faroki. So with that being said, I see people are lining up to speak. So Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation as always. It's amazing seeing everything y'all are doing at the airport, and I will always tell folks that we have the best airport in the world, and it's because of y'all's hard work. So appreciate y'all and all y'all do.
Thank you.
Just my question is more of like a big philosophical one, just with everything happening in Washington, D.C., a lot of pushback around DEI efforts across the country, or attempts to really strong arm states and localities to push back on DEI efforts. With Atlanta, with our airport being the busiest in the world, with our diversity efforts, whether it's the MBE program and our efforts to make sure we have access to for contractors to leverage the airport's resources to do business, whether it's the programs we have to ensure diversity with our own hiring practices, and with the state having attempted to take over the airport constantly over the last decade. Just what are y'all thinking as far as like a risk assessment and whether or not, we're in the crosshairs with this administration, whether or not we need to make changes or tweak language to ensure that we preserve our independence as a city, as a airport. I just imagine y'all are thinking a lot about that. I'm just curious, what y'all are thinking on y'all's end.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Councilman. We did a deep dive. We took all of our programs and we had to determine which of these diversity programs were federally funded. So we can determine what will we be able to do and sustain on our own. We're still going through some of that as well. We're staying ahead, keeping in touch with all of our lobbyists and things of that nature, other airports, what they're doing in the space. But one thing, as you stated, that's unique about Atlanta, Atlanta supports it. And we are excited about it. We plan to continue on with our program, and let's told something otherwise, because one thing I said, as I stated, we do fund a lot of our different programs. In other cases, most people do not. So even for things that are federally funded, the percentage of it we can get from somewhere else, right? Or we may have to modify, we may have to extend a schedule or something of that sort. Right now, we're in a good space. Again, we are planning for that, and we want to have an action plan in place in case something that we actually lose. But I'm excited to tell you that we're continuing to press forward and moving forward with our initiatives as it relates to diversity and just opportunities for all.
That's great to hear. And hearing the mayor last night at the State of the City, it sounds like the city is full-throated in that effort, and so across all channels. So it's great to hear that.
Yes.
And then my other question is just operationally with the shakeups at Department of Homeland Security, FAA, TSA. How much of a challenge has that been for our normal day-to-day airport operations, and what are we doing to kind of navigate that?
So as you stated, there is a change. So before the change occurred, we got out in front and started speaking with the TSA administrator. We have a new TSA administrator in place. We've already reached out for the requirements and things that we need for the airport in order for us to sustain the passenger growth that we have. We have been reaching out. Now, this is a new administration. We have not heard anything back yet, but we're still pressing that agenda, because one of the things we're staying laser focused on is that personnel that is needed in order to maintain our lanes, so therefore we will not have the backup. Also moving their academy to Atlanta and move it from Brunswick, because that will always give us that pool of trainees at all times to help offset when you have employees that do not call out, and also the technology that we have put in place that we were being awarded to get some more technology at our airport. And I will say we were ahead of the game with a lot of the technology that you see at our airport versus other airports. So now for us, it's a lot of software changes that will enhance it. So we're ahead of that. As it relates to, so we're still having those meetings. We're still forcing that agenda. We also, in the back of our mind, have a contract management security company. And so if anything is to happen, to be able to put people in place to compensate for where we may have some losses. So we have actually have a mitigation plan devised around that, because we never want to be caught short. So thank you for that. So operationally, we will be sound. We may have some delays in some crises, but we will make sure that we stay ahead of the projects, and still coordinating with the administration of the needs of Hartsfield-Jackson, because we are the busiest, and we let that be known. And it's the magnitude of staffing and technology that we need in order to be successful, continue to be successful.
Thank you for that. And it's just on the aspect of the FAA and our air traffic controllers, any impacts there, or have y'all heard any concerns from passengers about their uncertainty around air travel safety in general and how that's impacting
We
our
haven't
airport?
heard it in like mass numbers yet. There are concerns out there, but the safety, transportation still remains as the safest, and most efficient way to travel, globally, should we say. Of course, people are going to have some of those concerns, but it hasn't amounted in massive numbers as of yet. I do know there's always been trainees for an FAA. It takes them about 2 years to actually be able to be in the tower and also to manage. So you still have people in a training session even before this incident that will be introduced into that space as well. But we're keeping our eyes on that because that is critical for our airports, our planes. They need that, and that's how we get a lot of our information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I yield.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Lennon, I know that Councilmember Dozier thanked your team for all the operations, but I want to thank you personally for stepping into the role of interim general manager with the announcement yesterday. I just wanted to commend you for making sure that we kept the trains running, well, the planes running on time. Right, yeah. And the plane train running on time.
Yes, thank you so very much. And when you're talking about diversity as well, Ricky Smith, who I work closely with, is really good in that space and in the business space, and it would definitely help us to maintain and grow even further. So I'm excited about.
Sounds good. I've got one question and then one comment. I want to talk about, you know me, I'm going to dive right into the finance piece of it. And I think you did pretty high-level comments about where we stand with revenue and expenses, but I just want to get a better understanding of why our revenues are down 4% when I feel like traffic, even as identified by the concessions and parking numbers, I mean, what's causing that gap for us at this point?
Neville Randaria, Assistant General Manager, Capital and Financial Planning. So revenue was lower by about $14.4 million or 4%. So we had several irregular operational events, both weather and IT related, that led to several flight cancellations, leading to lower parking revenue by about $5.4 million, lower concession revenue by about $5.8 million, and rental car revenue was about lower by $1.7 million. So that together made up the bulk of the variance.
Okay.
But you should note that parking, we were aggressive on the budget. And versus last year, we are actually up by $3.9 million.
Okay, that's helpful. I didn't even think about the kind of the ripple effects of what you talked about. And just, you said that the expenses are running under budget as well, but essentially any difference, between revenue and expenses will essentially go to the capital reserve or fund, right? In terms of
It'll go,
resources for investment for
our
major
net
projects.
revenues are still positive. So then it'll flow to the revenue renewal and extension fund.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. I guess I'm just keeping my eye on more macroeconomic factors, particularly with some of the actions that are happening at the federal level and people that, will find themselves suddenly unemployed and what that could mean. So watching this across all departments, but I appreciate the explanation that you provided. Second thing is, you also talked, Ms. Lennon talked about and I'm done with the financial stuff. You talked about, referenced the incident around the college football championship game and the lines and the delays afterwards. I think I would encourage the airport and the incoming general manager, and I'll definitely mention this when we do our one-on-one, but I think the city continues to aim to have these large events. We have a whole series of them coming next year. I think and also as Councilmember Dozier referenced, we also don't know what's going to happen to TSA in terms of federal budget action. So I would encourage the airport to be as aggressive and ambitious as possible in exploring additional options in anticipation of these spikes in throughput. I know that on a daily basis, less than 20 minutes, your numbers are just really high. But I think those special spikes are not going to be infrequent anymore because we don't want them to be.
Right.
So, I understand that there are some initiatives that are kind of the express their identification verification platform partners like Clear and TSA, PreCheck and all that they're doing in other airports or even proposing at ours. And I would say let's lean into those to the extent that we can. Take all the potential variables, as many of the variables off the table for these delays, because, that's the one thing, the first customer experience that folks have and will impact our rating numbers. So.
Yeah, and let me just add to that. We've been really aggressive to this, but here's the couple of things. So the first day that we had the long lines, that was pure volume, volume. We had every check lane open, every one with the exception of one because the equipment, there was some issues there. And then they got it back running. That was pure volume. Capacity. It was nowhere else for us to go. So that's an issue that we are working aggressively on, capacity, because we've got to get more space. So that's one. And then secondly, the second day, when all the mitigation plans are in place, we had transferred TSA officers. We had over 60 in the building from different places. You had hotels, you had everything for them, and then they still decide not to show up. So then now we have to look at possible contracting in that space. So that's what we're looking at.
Yep. So again, I know that y'all are doing everything you can, but if there are options that our partners like Clear are offering, I'd say let's explore those fully, because we want to see these numbers continue to go up, and including volume and including rating. So, but again, thank you so much
thank
to you,
you.
Ms. Lennon, for all the great work that you've done in this period.
Appreciate you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield.
Thank you. Next speaker would be Councilwoman Overstreet.
Thank you, Chair Amos, and thank you, Ms. Lennon. And first, I want to make sure everyone knows that you receive an Iconic Women's Award on Saturday at the Georgia.
Thank you.
Well deserved. It was wonderful seeing you receive that, and your team, how they came out to support you, speaks volumes. And congratulations. Also, thank you for the presentation. I have promised myself that I wouldn't ever listen to your quarterly without letting you know that there are a couple things that we could do with our customer experience.
Okay.
Again, when you're leaving international and going to domestic after a long international trip, I want us to have a better experience. I went to a friend of mine's wedding for Valentine's Day and came back, and I was really ready to get back to my car. And the experience to get back to your car if you're coming in on international is not our best, and I know we can do better. So I want us to talk about some of the innovative things that we're doing around our customer experience, because we really are looking into the future. Went to the South Metro Development Conference last week and sat down and talked with Glideways. That's doing the PRT, which is the Personal Rapid Transit. We're going to have a model at Hartsfield-Jackson soon. And so I know we're looking at our experience and we're doing what we can. And I know eventually I'm going to have a great experience from international to domestic. But I do want to hear about your commitment to the experience in the future, in the near future, and some of the things that we are looking at right now as far as innovation is concerned.
I mean, you just stated it. We are looking at those opportunities and the infrastructure and those connections. Our current train system has a limitation on it. It doesn't go over the entire airport campus. What can we do to get it there? And then also, as you're talking about, we call it the pods in the air.
The pods in the air.
That's what we call it. So we're looking at that type of system as well. Like I said, our biggest issue right now for our airport is the capacity limitation issues. So Frank Rucker has been charged with a lot. We're in a room just constantly trying to figure this out because you can have technology, you can have innovation, but you also have to have the space and the conduit to do it. And that has been our challenge with our aging parent facility that we have. But I think we're getting there. And that will be good for us to come back and do a presentation of things that we have now finalized that we can say we can move forward with and give you that because we are working, I'm telling you, working very, very hard in that space in the customer service experience.
I agree.
And even starting from when you leave home, right? What are the things that we can do? I know there's one technology that we're looking at for the equipment system at the check lanes. So instead of that operator having to look at every single bag, the system, if there's a weapon or explosive, the system will only alarm for that. So that would be really good to speed up that process. When we're talking about technology for the phone for our staff to use, how you get to the next space, how you can have food at your gate when you arrive, that's technology that we're looking at as well. And again, that distance between international and the domestic, we have got to figure that out.
Okay.
We do.
So you read my mind.
Yeah.
I would love to have a presentation on just that innovation of customer experience
Yes.
but that's about it. Thank you very much
I
for
appreciate it.
all of this information and the way you put your bullet points together and show us the direction that your presentation is going is really, 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 really user friendly. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I yield.
Thank you. I think that's our last speaker. Oh, Councilman, we've been joined by Councilmember Lewis, so you have the floor.
And thank you as well, Ms. Lennon, for the presentation. My questions are simply around the car break-ins at the airport and seeing ways in which we've tried to improve that or stop it. What are you doing currently to improve it?
Currently, we have covert operations now set in there in the parking areas. APD was very aggressive and pulling down a ring who was actually targeting the airport, stealing vehicles. We still have a long way to go as far as the process of what rent-a-cars do. They still keep keys in the car the old way. They need to become more innovative in that. But then you have manufacturers, people get access to this, and this is how they were breaking in our cars because they had access to the fobs and breaking in cars. And then we have this Turo who's operating illegally in the space and people leaving their cars for someone else to come. That's in the numbers as well. But as you stated, see, our numbers have dropped because, again, of the covert operations that we're having in the space and additional staff out in the parking decks trying to handle situational awareness in the beginning. We're also having some equipment. If someone doesn't have a ticket, remember they used to be able to go right out, but now it'll be a barrier that will stop them immediately, and then we can address that. So that's good. A piggybacking anti-detection system we've placed in our parking decks.
And I know in my area, we've already started throwing our spaghetti on the wall to improve our car theft and our car break-ins, and in certain spaces, we've eliminated it. And what we've done in a small private business has invested in a robotic dog that we call Beth and Jack. We got about 2 of them out there.
Okay.
And if it monitors parking lots, it sits in the doghouse, it sees certain things. So we have so if that's something that you all could add to your outlook, so that in your next presentation you can talk about what you've studied with it. Other cities have already used it. Mr. Arthur Blank has already employed it at the Mercedes-Benz. And so we've already seen this, and to see the decrease in crime at District 12 of 22%, one of the highest drops in the city's history from what's going to look back. It shows us being innovative and us trying new things. So if we can try to get some of those out there to protect some of our folks, it'll make people feel more comfortable. But what I've learned also about it, the reputation of Beth and Jack, the reputation of them precedes itself. People actually stop stealing cars in areas where they know Beth and Jack are.
Okay.
And I was talking to a friend about it, and he was saying you get a guard dog for your yard. And we're in the South, they buy pit bulls and they put them in their front yard. And nobody comes into your front yard for certain things unless they're supposed to. So this technology, which won't bite a person, which is not taking our APD officers off of the streets where they can actually try to fight other crimes that are going on in the city, we can try to prevent this here if you invest in this. So in your next report, if you can, let me know a one pager or something if you're trying to invest. I want to see the thought process. And I think our airport has the smartest people in the world working.
We are.
And so we're just throwing spaghetti on the wall. Imagine if you put your input on it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our presentation. Before you go, Jan,
Yes.
and I should be politically correct right now, but that is not this moment. I want to say thank you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
want to say thank you from this position as Chair of Transportation Committee, but more importantly, thank you for when I used to work for you at the world-class security team at the airport. Thank you for being consistent in what you do and how you do, but more importantly, thank you for being clear.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You know, love you or not, no one could ever say that they did not know where you stood.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a rare position in this business that we do. So thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
With that being said, I think we're back on track. I make a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
Mr. Chair, can you repeat the seconder?
There were several of them, so we're going to go with one.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Thank you, committee. You should have received and looked over by now the proposed 2025 goals and objectives. If there's no unreadiness, I make a motion to approve the goals and objectives. Motion has been made and second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The 2025 committee goals and objectives have been adopted.
Thank you, sir. We have already completed public comment, presentation, committee. If I could, we have several appointments that are here in the audience with us. If we could jump to them so we can get them back to their daily lives, it'll be appreciative. So, seeing no unreadiness, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This takes us to item number 29 on page 12. 25C0008, the communication from Attorney James Radford submitting the appointment of Ms. Sally Fox to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Americans with Disabilities Act Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Flock. Tell us your name, just a few things about you.
I'm sorry, what'd you ask me? Did you want me to say something?
Yes, give us your name and just tell us a couple of things about you.
Oh, sure. I'm Sally Fox, and I've been involved in pedestrian advocacy longer than any of you have been on the city council. And as I look at the names, I think the only city council member who has been here longer than I've been involved is Michael Julian Bond. So I was leader of PEDS for 23 years and have still been involved in an unofficial way. I think in terms of me being a member of the advisory committee, I would like to put my institutional knowledge to work. I am well aware of the condition of our sidewalks. I know ADA requirements and also the city's history of dealing with consent decrees, kind of the track record. I'll just give one example. 2007, I reported that the islands at the intersection of Monroe Drive and Park Avenue, which is a major entrance to Piedmont Park, had islands with no cut-throughs. That was in 2007. The road has been repaved twice since then, and they still haven't solved the problem. So basically, I'm coming at this with the perspective of, I'm not going to believe that this is going well if it's not. I will give you really honest feedback on how things are going. And the other thing that I have a lot of knowledge about is how to take measurements that are realistic. I served on the committee advisory for Renew Atlanta, and when they were talking about sidewalk improvements, they did it in linear feet. Everything else was in miles. Well, when you say 30,000 linear feet, that sounds a whole lot better than 6 miles. So I will be pushing for measurements that are going to be understandable for you and for the public. So I really thank you for the opportunity to serve on this board, or no, is it a board or a committee? Whatever it is.
Committee, thank you.
Okay.
Motion has been made and second. Moved by Juan, seconded by Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Thank you, Ms. Flox.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Takes us to our next item, item number 30, 25C0010, a communication from Attorney James Radford submitting the appointment of Ms. Cardin Wyckoff to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Americans with Disabilities Act Advisory Committee.
Hello. I think y'all know me. I feel like this place is my second home. I am Cardin Wyckoff. I'm a disability advocate, transit equity advocate, and I am appreciative of being able to serve on the ADA Advisory Committee. I live a car-free life and sidewalks. I'm a constituent of Councilmember Faroki's, and we've done significant improvement in that district to make sidewalks better. And I am very excited to, just make the city more accessible and equitable and allow people to move around freely, and especially for those that don't have access to using a car.
Thank you. Any motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Thank you.
Ma'am. That takes us to our consent agenda, first reads.
Item number 1, 25-01119, an ordinance by Transportation Committee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 of Article 10 Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, and to authorize the mayor as designee to execute an amendment for agreement listed herein. Services agreement for commercial advertising at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport to change the gross revenue yearly audit and rent reporting periods from calendar year to the city's fiscal year cycle of July 1st to June 30th through the remainder of the term of the agreement, and to reimburse Clear Channel Outdoor LLC doing business as Clear Channel Airports for additional lead upgrades in the amount of $687,500.00 by reducing rent in the amount of $68,750.00 per month for a 10-month period and for other purposes. Item number 2, 25-01120, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary for the acquisition of certain property interests necessary for the Cortland Piedmont Safe Streets project, authorizing negotiations with property owners for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing title searches, appraisals, surveys, and any other items necessary for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing the mayor and the city attorney in the event negotiations are unsuccessful to institute condemnation proceedings pursuant to the declaration of taking method, OCGA 32-3-1, waiving certain provisions of Article 10 Real Estate and Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, all contract work we charge to and pay for property interest to be paid from account numbers listed herein and for the purposes. Item number 3, 25-01121, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the FY 2025 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund, Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund, GARBS 2012A non-amount, GARBS 2012C amount, GARBS 2019A non-amount, GARBS 2019B amount, but budgets by transferring to and from appropriations a total amount of $46,900,050.00 for reimbursement of the Aviation Encumbrance Program and for other purposes. Item number 4, 25-01122, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the FY 2025 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund, Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund, 2012A GARBS amount, 2012C GARBS non-amount, 2019A non-amount GARBS, 2019B amount GARBS, 2019C amount PFC non-amount bond fund, 2022B amount GARBs, 2023B2 GARBs non-amount, 2023C GARBs amount, 2024A2 GARBs non-amount, 2024B GARBs amount, 2022C PFC non-amount bond fund, and 2022D PFC amount bond fund budgets by transferring to and from appropriations total amount of $18,329,002.00 for reimbursement of the Airport Renewal and Extension Fund, 2022C PFC non-amount bond fund, and 2022D PFC amount bond fund, and for other purposes.
It takes us to our regular agenda. Proceed.
Item number 5, 25-01086, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept grant funding from the 2024 Comprehensive Transportation Plan Funding Assistance Program on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend the fiscal year 2025 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $2 million to increase the budget amount authorized by the Atlanta Regional Commission for the purpose of updating the City of Atlanta's transportation plan, to authorize the city to commit matching funds from the transportation fund in amount not to exceed $500,000 to enter into any necessary grant agreements for grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment revises Section 2 by striking through a sentence that references funds being paid into the following account information.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Motion to approve the amended item. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 6, 25-01087, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive procurement source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 and 2-1163 of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions on behalf of the Department of Aviation to complete the remaining work to agreement listed herein, runway 9L end around taxiway phase 2 at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with the C.W. Matthews Contracting Company Incorporated, and complete the project in the amount not to exceed $6,045,679.00. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 7, 25-01088, an ordinance by Transportation Committee amending the fiscal year 2025 Airport Revenue Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations the amount of $5,017,500.00 to the Airport Revenue Fund to provide funding for various initiatives and projects at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 8, 25-01089, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive procurement source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 of Article 10 Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions on behalf of the Department of Aviation to complete the remaining work to agreement listed herein, cargo expansion site preparation at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Matthews Kelly Joint Venture, and complete the project in the amount not to exceed $4,400,000.00. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 9 is 25-01090, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive procurement source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 and Section 2-1292E of Article 10 Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting co-provisions to execute an amendment to change the joint venture partner and funding for agreement listed herein, perimeter gates inspection and exits with OS-HSG joint venture, doing business as OS3 joint venture on behalf of the Department of Aviation at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, an amount not to exceed $27,935,020.95. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment corrects a Scrivener's error in the third whereas clause by changing the year of the reference legislation from 23R 3828 to 24R 3828.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 10-25-0-1097, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to rename a portion of Dixie Street Southeast to waive certain provisions of Section 138-8 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be held for a public hearing.
Motion to hold. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Excuse me, the item is held in committee. Excuse me. Mr. Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, can we take items number 11 and 12 together as a block?
Proceed.
Item number 11, 25-0-1106, an ordinance by Councilmember Howard Shook authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Transportation to accept grant funds from the Georgia Department of Transportation to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2025 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $960,000.00 for the PATH 400 trail extension from Meridians Drive to the City of Sandy Springs Limit project information number listed herein, to enter into the agreements with the Georgia Department of Transportation for implementation of grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes. Item number 12, 25-0-1107, an ordinance by Councilmember Howard Shook authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept grant awards from the Georgia Department of Transportation to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2025 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount of $720,000.00 for the PATH 400 trail extension from Wyuka Road to Mountain Way Commons to Meridians Drive, project information number listed herein, to enter into any agreements with the Georgia Department of Transportation for implementation of grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes.
Motion to approve items 11 and 12. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. This takes us to Section J, Resolutions. Item number 13, 25R3158, a resolution by Councilmember Washi Collier Overstreet authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of South Fulton, Georgia, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for the purpose of sidewalk improvements within the geographical boundaries of Atlanta for the New Hope Road Sidewalks Project, an amount not to exceed $121,109.05. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 14, 25R3204, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend resolution number.
Mr. Johnson, hold up for a second.
I
Councilmember
guess
Brewer.
as a question of DOT on that last paper, when we're doing work for South Fulton or any other municipality, that work isn't jumping the the line for City of Atlanta projects, is it?
Solomon Cavanis, Commissioner, ATL DOT. No, sir. South Fulton had a project, and they asked if we could participate in terms of sidewalk work, and they're handling the project themselves.
Okay.
It's not jumping a line or.
So it's not our internal ATL DOT staff or a contractor we have on, okay, great, thank you.
Councilwoman Overstreet.
I was going to say just the same thing, not to mention that I was actually asked beforehand if I would like to use discretionary funding. I said, absolutely not. Because they are doing a full scope and we only have like less than a tenth of a mile in that portion. And I feel like we've gifted quite a bit over there. So it was a no for me. But it's a yes to this paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson, proceed, please.
Item number 14, 25R3204, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend resolution number 22R3583 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 6, 2022, and approved per City Charter Section 2-403 on June 15, 2022, by adding an additional funding source, all other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 15, 25R3205, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Department of Aviation pursuant to Section 22-205 of the Atlanta City Code of Ordinances for the purpose of adjusting the customer facility charge and establishing the date to begin collection of the adjusted customer facility charge and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote. Oh, we have a question.
Yeah, my question, I mean, this is a pretty significant jump. Is it correct that the last time we changed this was 2010 and we're just now, and then how is this then related to consumers, or is it just kind of folded into they'll have an extra $3.10 when they rent?
Good morning, Tyrania Smith, Assistant General Manager of Commercial Revenue at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Wan. This is a customer facility charge. It is a pass-through charge to the customers, and yes, the last time it was changed was in 2010 when it was increased to $5. At the current rate, Atlanta's customer facility charge is one of the lowest among the airports that service this nation. At $8.50, we will still kind of be like in the middle of the pack, but what that money is used for is for facility improvements. And right now we underwent a very comprehensive analysis of our facility that was built back in 2009. It's now had significant improvements, and we're looking at a capital improvement plan of $475 million over the next 10 years, and that does not include expansion efforts that are currently under evaluation.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. I think that context is really important anytime that we are increasing fees of any sort, especially this dramatically, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No more questions. Motion has been made and second. The vote is open.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Thank you. Takes us to our next item.
Item number 16, 25R3206, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise a single renewal option of agreement listed herein, flight tracking system for a term of 2 years, an amount not to exceed $140,000.00 with Passer Aerospace Incorporated at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport on behalf of the Department of Aviation. All contracted services to be charged to and paid from the fund account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 17, 25R3207, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund for fiscal year 2025 in amount not to exceed $9,160,097.00 for use under 8 architectural and engineering design services contracts for services at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our legislative session. Any comments, concerns, announcements? Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly want to remind either my District 4 constituents or folks who are just curious about what we're doing in District 4 to our next District 4 Town Hall, which will be this Saturday, 11 o'clock a.m. at Plywood Place over at the Lynn White Complex.
Thank you. Any more comments, concerns, announcement? Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.